So basically, what we're doing is I'm looking for do the right time for where you think you are in the course, and level of comfort, and what we're going to talk about, where you'd like to be, and then in the assignment section of the Blackboard, there's the quiz. From our perspective, see the results, just answer the questions, and now give you a comparison of where you think you are, where you want to be, and where you actually are. Okay. All right, so you can think of that. Okay, as everyone's finishing up, how many are still working away on it? Okay, Shannon and okay, so you're done. Yeah, you were just stretching. Okay, so as everyone's finishing up, was there any real shocking surprises of where you thought you were compared to where you are? Better or worse? Anyone want to share? I don't know exactly where I thought it was. Exactly where you thought you were? Okay, so it kind of threw you off a little bit. So give yourself credit for that then. Give yourself the mark for it. What the hell? It's like, whose line is it anywhere? Everything's made up and none of the points don't matter. Yeah. You know, okay, so why do you think that is? That you're 30% higher than you thought you were? Okay. You know what that's telling me is that you get the concepts, you get the terminology. It's just you don't have A, the practice, and B, the confidence when you sit down. So okay, so we've got somebody that was 30% higher than they expected. So I'm guessing that for the 70 and you got a perfect score on the quiz. Anybody else want to share? There's no magic to it. If you scored less than you thought you were at, or you scored right where you thought you were at, but you're really some ways away from where you want to be, there's two things I'm going to do for you. The first one, I'm going to recommend, if you remember at the start of the year, and I went across, and Emma, I think you talked about playing the guitar, musical instrument. Okay, other instruments. Somebody mentioned the guitar. So there's some that talked about playing guitar. Some people talk about playing drums. Some people talk about other things. It's musical instruments. You don't just pick up a musical instrument and bang, you know it right away. You've got to practice it. So I'm going to suggest if you're not where you want to be, practice, practice, practice. And when I'm saying practice, go back to the start of the semester and start again. It shouldn't take you that long this time, because if you think about what our first in-class work was to enter a name in and have the label print out hello or something to that effect. Now, if you think back to your assignment, the first class was pretty simple. It was just a couple lines of code. So practice on that, work with it, because as you're going along, one thing that I do promise you is if you practice more and more, you're going to get that aha moment where the confidence comes to you, where you go, I can't believe this was so difficult. Java never was my friend, and I never really had the aha moment, but I'm going to be honest with you, because I never practiced Java. So I didn't like it, so I didn't practice it. Now, you may not like C#, but one thing I've got to tell you is it's the basis for almost all of your courses going forward. So you might as well get friendly with it, because even if it's not C# formal, there's derivatives of the C language in most of everything that we're going to be doing going forward. So get comfortable with it, practice it. Okay. So with all that said, okay, so it's practice time. There's a theme. So what am I like to do? Two numbers, add them together, and divide these by 2. And when you're done, go to GitHub, create a repo, and upload it to the repo. For those of you who are looking, going, well, okay, this is straightforward, have some fun with it. Give yourself a few challenges. You know, change the size of the form, change the background colors, do something different with it. Help somebody if someone else is stuck. All right, so I'll give you a few minutes to work on that. Yes.
I never noticed this before. You can create a new GitHub from
You can, yeah. I would recommend still doing it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
Because what happens if you're in another class that's not using Visual Studio?
Yeah, I was thinking
That's the easy way to go do it. If you're not in Visual Studio, then otherwise it doesn't work. So, one of the comments was that there is an opportunity in Visual Studio to just create the GitHub automatically, the repository automatically. That's great, but I'd like you to continue practicing with what you're doing right now with the manual uploads, because if we're using software that isn't Visual Studio, you're going to have to use it to be familiar.
we sure didn't.
Yeah.
Demo Word, PNG.
Everyone need a couple more minutes?
discussing my monster.
Yeah, we'll give you about 5 more minutes. And some of you are stumbling and want to figure it out, which is cool. So I'm not going to do the solution. I'll let you have an opportunity to figure it out. And then if you've got still questions at the end of class, that's cool. So if you already are finished, try changing the size of the form and the color of the background and fonts and things like that. Get practice with that. Okay, so is everyone good, or do you need a little bit more time? A little bit more time? Okay, that's cool. I'm not if I'm not flexible. Debugging is better. It's working. Yeah. Yes. Okay. You know, like this collaborator. Okay, so I never used that. So, okay. Again, I go just invite me as a client. And I can yes. Figure it out. And so there's an improvement. Yeah. I go with it. You never knocked out this message? Like this. Okay. So what is it saying? Okay. No, you gotta go to the repository. That's how you figure out. Yeah, there we go. I'm not seeing the error. Okay. Yeah. Unless you solve that.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, you know, like,
oh my God, where did they go? Well, that's, New York. Oh, yeah, that's not working.
Yeah. And you're stuck. Yeah, I have, right? Because I could be. Those, so, remember my. I always use to get someone with flower. Okay, within second coach. Just look at the start. Yeah, but this is. Yeah. No, because it's not. Yeah, okay. So there you go. Just give me 1 second. Oh, yeah. Oh, look at you. What are you missing? It's all in your phone. Let's stop it. The whole project, yes. So we're going to. Okay, so.
Oh.
Like.
That's so.
Yeah, this one is doing this project and then almost so the well, not seeing all that. No, I see my in the file. Part of the first project. I wrote it. The next yes. You're saying there's a hurricane. Because the yes one follows. Yeah, right. You know, you do here. Okay, so that's common. Yeah. There you go. Just see what we get. Yeah, no worries. Okay, so you're missing something. Hold on, let's do it. Yeah, so that's how we what happens in the left hand side. This is the divide them two. Okay, so you're missing. So first off, you have this. So now, I think that should work. No. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, listen.
Yeah, like.
Okay, so, okay, glad you're there. I don't know what this is. It's good, I have no idea. So I basically decided. Yeah, I would suggest that. Okay, so from what I've seen, you guys are getting it now. You did that in about 20 minutes and you upload it to Git. If I told you at the start of the semester you would write a program and upload it to a GitHub repository in 20 minutes, you would have probably looked at me and went, I don't think so. So you are making progress. There are some things that you're forgetting. They're basics. So those are areas of a little bit of concern for me. Now here's something that I noticed. and I've got to ask you guys, and you have to be honest with me on this one. When we did this exercise, everyone put the result as a decimal. But in the assignment, there were more people than not that put it as an integer. Why? Yes.
I misunderstood your instruction. No, that's.
Okay. Okay, that's fair. Okay, so you saw the comments that I put in there. That's very fair. So what I'm going to do, and I looked at that and I went, okay, there's a breakdown here because there were so many people that were doing it. Yeah. Yeah. So, no, but there was a breakdown of what I was looking for. So I'm going to shoulder the responsibility for that. I'm going to go back into everyone's assignment. And if you lost marks for it, I'll make sure that you get marks back. Okay? Because that wasn't fair. Yeah. Same thing? Okay. All right. So that's fair then. And again, like I said, if nothing, I'm flexible. So I get it. And I think that was unreasonable for you guys to lose marks. So I'll make sure that you get your marks back. Because I'm a giving guy. Okay. Why don't we, let's see here. Okay, actually, no, I'm going to do one more thing. Speaking of giving, I'm going to play a little bit of Let's Make a Deal for you. All right? Let me take the information for you. As a part-time instructor, I'm only paid for the amount of hours that I teach. I don't get paid for prep. I'm not complaining. I love what I do. I enjoy it. So I'm not complaining. But I don't get paid for prep time. I don't get paid for office hours. And I certainly won't get paid for this, but I don't care. Okay? Because I'm recognizing that there's a problem. And I would like to offer you guys an extra hour of lab time. Okay? And what that means is you come to me with challenges or problems or difficulties that you're having, because I guarantee you if one of you is having that problem, more than one of you is going to have the same problem. Come to me with a challenge. It's not mandatory. You don't have to come. If you've got a problem, come and I'll work through with you. I've got availability on Tuesday evenings at 7, so I'll give up my evening for an hour for you if that works for everybody, because I know that your schedule is so busy for the first semester. So I'm willing to do that. Is everyone available during that period, or would you rather have a different time? Because I know your evenings are your evenings. Some of you work part-time, some of you that's your homework time, etc. Is that, first off, is that something that you guys can use? Yeah, perfect. I figured that, and that's what I want to do. So what this is going to do is it's going to give you the extra hour of practice, and by coming into that lab, it's forcing you to practice. So that's the significant thing. So the only challenge I have is 7 o'clock good for everybody? Yeah? Okay, cool. So I'm going to book a room for that. The only thing that I'm going to ask of you guys is twofold. The first is that you must have questions. Don't just come and go, I don't understand it. I want specific questions because then we can address them. So, my code isn't working here. And be comfortable letting me put the code up on the screen. So that if other people are having that same problem, what's going to happen is, say, for example, and I'm going to use a fictitious person, Joe over there, right beside Emma. Say, for example, Joe is having a problem getting the code to work. And we put it up on the screen, we walk through it as a team. Everyone's getting practice debugging. And that was kind of what your point was when you said, don't help them. Because you want practice debugging. Because if you get stuck, and you're just about to submit an assignment and it's stuck, and you don't have practice debugging, you're done. Basically, you can just submit it as a broken code. So as a group, we'll work on debugging it. We're not judging anybody. We're not going, oh, I can't believe you didn't get that, because I guarantee you, we're all in that same boat. So come with specific questions. Do not come to the lab if you've missed the day before going, what did I miss? I'm not reteaching the class. Okay? Is that fair? Now there is only one more requisition. Must practice afterwards. I was speaking with Rich, I was speaking with Don. We will say this is such a significant building block for the rest of your program. So you've got to practice. And I guarantee you that what happened today when I said, hey, you know what, write a short snippet of code, you guys for the most part, were relatively quick. Yeah, you had some stumbling blocks, but you did it. You had stumbling blocks, you troubleshot them, you solved the problems. So you are getting there. I assure you of that. And then the one that really tripped me up was the int. So that really bothered me because I felt that I misled you. And based on what I'm told, I did, and that wasn't fair. So I stand before you a humbled man. All right, so is there any questions about what I just went over? I'll post the classroom that I can book up on Blackboard for you. So that way, again, completely voluntary, Tuesday evenings at 7. Would you like the breakfast club? I know only about 3 of us would have got that reference. Actually, no, it's a classic. You guys have heard Breakfast Club. You've seen it probably, right? Okay, good. All right. I'm just feeling really old for a moment there. Okay, so I'll post it. It's going to be kind of like a Breakfast Club. You guys just come in with your questions. We work on them. We troubleshoot them as a group. If you need me to go over a topic in specific, I will go over that topic for you. I can't do your assignments for you, but I certainly can help guide you in your thinking. Okay? Why don't we take about a 10-minute break now, and then we will resume and start talking about the movies. I'll swing around. So let's follow. Let's go through your steps. Okay, so what was your first step? Okay. No, you're just that's all you're wrong.
Yeah, you moving.
One of the things that I is that it's pushing, that's okay. So go back to your manual. So you can remove that, but that's fine. Okay, so we're just okay, so here's what probably happened. When you went back and forth, it probably added a file and it thought like, okay, I don't do it, then you go right there. Then from the right, you got it, hit add reading, okay. So there's a file that's not getting me on your GitHub repository, that's not present on the GitHub. So all you're not going to do is create your GitHub or pull up the down. You don't get it. Let's try and it's asking so you should be okay. That's exactly fine. You did or you didn't?
No, I did. I just. What I did.
Okay, so. You got it? Anyone else have a problem where your permission was denied when you're trying to upload to GitHub? You had to say the okay, then that's what I had said, that they had to run as administrator. So we may try, you may not be running as an administrator, you just don't know. You ran as an administrator still, okay. So yeah, but I think I'm running on VMware. Okay, so all right, so we'll work on that if there's time permitting. So basically, now what we're going to move forward with, I'm going to talk about the lab, because what happens is we get so in depth in what we're doing in class that I never get to talk about the labs. So I'm talking about the lab. You're not doing it right now. This is your homework, but I wanted to go over it so everyone understands. So basically, all you're going to do is create a password. And Steve, if you had done that last week, yeah, no, you had submitted that last week, but then I looked on Blackboard and it was gone. So could you? That's where it was. Okay, I knew I'd seen it. Okay, I don't think it's actually working. I looked on Blackboard, I would see it. All right, then you're done your homework for this week. You're too quick. All right, you're too quick. Yeah, okay, but the way when GitHub blew up, yeah, I never got to it. So, all right, so one of you's done it, or there might be a couple more. So basically, you're creating a solution that accepts a password displays incorrect password, and try again when an incorrect password is entered. You don't need to connect to a database. You don't need to do anything. You're going to set the variable, whatever your password is, to the word password. Actually, I don't think I put that in there. So the password will be password. And if somebody enters in hockey, it'll throw a response that says incorrect password, try again. Okay? So basically what you're creating is a loop. And upload the solution with at least 2 commits to GitHub. Now, one thing I was noticing is that when you're doing your git commit and you're putting comments in there, you've got to be descriptive. So your first comment is first commit. But anything after that, describe what it is that you changed. Because what's going to happen is if you've got 15 or 16 different versions of that solution, and you look at the seventh one, what did I commit there? You can quickly see, and if you've got it back pedal and do a revision control, that's going to really help you out finding what you've done. Any questions on the lab? Now it looks a little convoluted right now, but as I said, I will never give you more than you need. Or no, that didn't come out right. No, I will never ask you to do something I've not taught you. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about this. So keep it in the back of your mind as we're going through what's called loops. What a wonderful thing. Okay, so what I need you guys to do is do a little bit of research for me. Find a website that uses loops. Tell me what the website is, what types there are, and what the loops are used for. Okay, so just any website, can be Sportsnet, can be CNN, whatever it is. So locate a website that uses loops. Tell me what they are and what they're used for. I'll give you about 5 minutes or so. You're stuck already?
No,
All right. There you go. Okay, so a loop, I was going to, the intent was to get you to do a little research, but I'm going to help you out on that one. So a loop basically is a snippet of code that will run, and we'll go back to the password example. That code will run while password does not equal password. Okay, so you've got your decision loop. And here you've got password equals password. So if it's yes, it moves on to the rest of the code. However, if this does not equal password, it loops back and asks you again. So it's a continual cycle while this, whatever this situation is not valid. Okay? And I'm going to show you another one as well. Does that make sense? Everyone understand that definition or explanation? Yeah? Okay, cool.
So just you invited me in as a moderator. Yeah, okay, that's fine. So then just send me the links now at the site. Oh, and then I can just go. Could I just click on there for a second? And actually, oh, yeah, it sounds frustrating. Or whatever. Oh, okay. I want to smash my laptop.
Well, you know what? Okay, we've got two errors for that. There's Pebco and ID10T. I'm not sure which one.
Right now, I'm pretty good.
Oh, you got an example? Okay, perfect. We'll get to this. Just 1 second then. All right, so everyone's had a chance to look at websites? Which example are you?
Like remind me on Discord.
Okay. Perfect. Yes. Okay. So there's an example. Google Calendar. So while the date does not equal today's date, say, it loops around and continues going. So every day it will iterate that method while it's not there. And then when it does, it goes to whatever it is. Remind me it's my birthday today. And then it'll do that. So yes, that's an excellent example. Do you know what type of loop it is? 4? Okay, we'll get back to that one. Okay, actually, technically it could be if you're converting the date to a number. So, but we'll get back to that. Okay, so this is where's the loop in that? Yeah, like what type of loop would we be using?
They can use while or for or for.
Okay, so we've established there's 4 and while loops. Okay, that's good. So which one will we use to display a list? There actually, you know what? As you're looking puzzled at me, I'm starting to see where you're talking about for the loop. Because when you first said it, I'm like, I don't know. So what would be the loop then?
I think use form. Like they will get the list from the database.
Yeah.
And then they will go one to the end of the list.
Okay.
And like for this item, they will display all the set of the product.
Okay.
And they have on the list like to use email or email and LI or item.
Okay, so where I was thinking for Amazon, so what you're saying is very valid, but where I was thinking for a loop is Amazon's algorithms are very specific. So what I see on Amazon is not what you see, which is not what Nick sees, because we search for different products. So based on the algorithm, while this user is logged in, display this list of products, because it's being specific to that user. So that's where I received it. So as you were talking, that was the one that came to my mind. So, okay, so Amazon, yeah.
Spotify will use the song.
Okay, so what would be the loop then? How will we loop that? Like I understand that it's a loop, But what would be the loop, the type of loop it is first? Okay, I'll let you think on that one for a couple minutes and we'll get back in that.
Do what?
Do while. Okay, so why do while? Okay, so do while play is selected. Okay. Okay, yeah, fine. Auto play on YouTube. Okay, so what would be the loop on?
Be a while loop.
Okay.
If autoplay turned on,
Yeah.
and then it canceled.
Okay, so the while, the pseudocode for the while statement would be while autoplay is selected. Play the next video. Okay. Okay, cool. So any others? You guys didn't find any others? Uh-huh. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so while search term is this, and this. Yeah, absolutely. Now, Google is a really multi-headed animal because it's not just the search terms, but while you're logged in, it's also recording everything that you're doing, it's returning predictive searches and everything else. So while a user is logged in, perform this way. While I'm logged in, perform that way. So there's a couple different versions of that. But yeah, absolutely. So that's a good one. Anyone else?
Like, I'm thinking like when you're on a forum and like you type in like invalid email or
Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
would be like the password one. And also kind of submit and
So what do you think that's called? I alluded to it earlier today. No.
I don't know.
Okay. You're just throwing stuff against the wall. Yeah, right? Oh, okay, I'll get back to you in just 1 second. That's actually validation. But yes, absolutely. So if you're talking about a phone number where you've set up the format for that field, while the phone number format does not equal this, return an error. So yes, absolutely. Or postal code. Now, what happens was a while ago, about 15, 20 years ago, the United States were operating on a five-digit zip code, yeah. And what they did was because it got so large, they had to split it again, and they had to add another 5 characters, which is a dash and then typically 4 digits. So in that situation, where all the websites were programmed to accept just a 5-digit code, it would validate, okay, it's 5 digits, but then if I were, say, living in Alaska where I had to add in another 4 characters, it would throw an error. So the website designers all had to go back and reconfigure the way that their while loop was working. So, okay, so that's a good one. The validation, I think we heard about that one sometime earlier this morning. Ryan. Interesting. And this is why I look to you guys as to find stuff, because I would have never thought about that one. So yeah, absolutely. So what he was saying for image carousels, while the timer is less than 3,000, then hold the image. Once it's 3,000, it equals 3,000, rotate. So absolutely. So we started talking a lot about different types. There's for loops and there's while loops we talked about. And then we dabbled with a do while as well. It almost sounds like a 50s song, but does anyone know the difference between the for loops and the while loops? Careful. Technically, okay, so here's a question for you then. Can we perform this password as a for loop?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, really? Interesting. Because the way I've always been taught.
Because for loop has 3 sections.
Okay, yeah.
You can omit the first and the last one.
Okay.
It's basically another word.
Okay.
But if that makes sense.
Okay.
Better to do it in the word.
Okay. A while has a condition, and typically it's associated with strings.
But it has condition too. For has a condition too.
4 is typically associated with numerals. So for the loop, while for content equals 1, comma, what, and under 1,000 do this, where the while is specific to strings. Now, a while can be used for numbers. So a while is kind of the omnipotent one that does everything, but 4 is specifically for numbers.
Oh,
Okay?
no, because as I said, technically they're just the same.
Well, again, they are in one sense, where they will both perform the same functionality.
Because you can put any condition in the for, any condition in the while, any condition.
Okay, so then here's your challenge for the lab. Create a for loop for password, where password equals password. That's your homework. And then, and if you get it, I will stand in front of the class and say I was proved wrong. And which, hey, you know what? I have no problem doing. I'm an easygoing guy. So if you can do it, that's awesome. I really appreciate the effort. So go for it. Solve that problem. But it can only be a string. The password has to equal password. Okay, all right. Oh, you've written into the calendar. Okay, so for I equals 1, while I equals less than 365. Okay, so yeah, because then I equals plus equals 1. Okay, yeah, that would work. Yep. Okay, Emma. And it's typically associated with strings. So yes, absolutely. And I'm going to show you that in class. Actually, that's part of the assignment, not the assignment, but what we're working on today. Okay, so yes, if you've got a definitive number, so for I equals 100 and I is equal or less than 120, and then you perform this function. So yes, you're absolutely right. Does that make sense? When people look, now we had a little bit of controversy over here. We're gonna leave this one up for video review until next week. Does everyone understand the difference between using a for and a while? Based on my definition. I'll go over it again because there's a couple of you going, I'm not answering that. So a while loop, okay, is typically associated where first off, it's one of two conditions. First off, if you're talking about a password or a string, use a while loop. If you're talking about a condition where you don't know what the final outcome is going to be, use a while loop. For a for loop, if you know specifically that there are 20 iterations of whatever you were performing, so say for example, I ask you to multiply 5 by 2 20 times. So you know that while I is equal or less than 20, perform this loop. That would be a for loop. Because we know that the definitive number is 20. All right? I'm going to re-explain this after I show you the code so that you might be able to go, oh, I see, I get it now. Because where it gets a little confusing or a lot confusing, whichever, is you can also perform similar functions with the while loop for the same idea, but I'll show you the difference between the code. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do for you. We're going to work on the code. I'll explain the difference again. If you've got questions, either submit them to me email or ask them in class. Okay. Okay, so if we want to spark up the GitHub, not the GitHub. Oh. Let's try Visual Studio first. Let's have some fun with Visual Studio. Oh. Okay, so is everyone on Visual Studio? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a form that has a button, a label, and that's it. So we're going to change the properties of the button, and I'll walk you through that. Let's start with the form. Create a form that's got a button and a label. Okay? Okay, so the label, we're going to change, first off, let's change the properties of the button to BTN, whatever you want to call the name of it, and call it click. Whatever you'd like. You can call it apple, banana, whatever you'd like. Never. Okay, and then what we're going to do with the label is I'm just going to change it to label message 1 because we're going to be doing other stuff. And we're going to change that to say the actual text to say click the button to start a loop. I just called it LBL message 1, I think it was. I really love this desk, how flexible it is, because you can push it up and whatnot, but only when it's working. So, okay, so are we there? Let's double click actually, I'm going to make my button bigger. You don't have to. Let's double click the button to open up the method. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to add a comment because this is what we're working on. So comment, and we're going to add, use a loop to display, numbers 100 to 120. So for this loop, which type of loop do you think we should be using if we're just using numbers? A for loop. Okay, cool. Now, Mohammed, can we use a while loop? Okay, but I'll show you the while in a minute. Okay, so we're going to use a for loop. I'm not picking on you, I swear. No, okay, so 5 times 5. Okay, no, so say for example, a for loop will be multiply 5 by 5 50 times. Okay, so while the number is less than or equal or less than 50, it will perform that iteration. All right. Okay, so everyone's got the comment down? Okay. So now it's all going to make sense, I promise you. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to add the for statement. So for. Now, what type of variable do we want to declare here? decimal, double, int, integer? Why? Sorry? Okay, so we're not using decimals in this situation, so we can declare an int. So int 32, and I'm going to declare the variable as a counter equals 100. So this is the number that it's starting at. Okay, so I've declared that counter starts at 100. Okay, and we're going to do a semicolon. And then we're going to, the next thing that we're going to add is the next step is counter is less than or equal to, less than or equal to what? Okay. Then what's the next step you figure? Oh, okay, so plus plus? Okay, so just go like this? No? Oh, counter plus plus. Okay. So counter plus plus. Okay, so to break this down so that I understand what's going on. So count the variable counter is 100. Counter plus plus. What is a counter plus plus?
You end up that it's
Of how many? So it increments by 1 with a plus plus. Okay? So how's it going? That is because that's the code. And I'll show you how to do it by different ones. So to add by 1 is plus plus. All right? We'll get there. I promise you, everything will be clear as mud by the end of the class. Perfect. All right. So then what we've done is we started this. So why do we have to close everything? Curly braces. You would think as computer programmers would come up with a more sophisticated name than curly braces. Oh, okay. Why do they call it curly braces? There you go. All right. Well, I just wish that they'd. No, this is barking at me still. No, actually, there is no semicolon. That's right. And thank you, because what we're doing is we're saying that while this condition equal to 100 or less than 120, we're adding 1 and we're performing this function. What would happen if I added that semicolon? What would go on?
I don't know, but it's not like what you're doing. I can put this thing forward.
Okay. Let me have a look quickly. Okay. Delete this. Yes, delete the semicolon. But now, let me just put the line because you're missing something that I got. What have I got? Okay, so if I add the semicolon, basically we're saying to it, that's it. Perform. End of statement. So we don't want that. So in the for loop, now what we want to do is we've declared the label. So we go label message 1 dot text. Now plus or equal, and I'll bring this up in a second. To my experienced people, what does plus or equal mean, or plus equal mean? Okay, so it adds on, it doesn't replace. So if we were to say multiply 5 by 5 50 times, it's going to take 25, and then whatever I should probably come up with an easier number that I knew the math for, but it would just show the next result and it would just add it in line. Here, I'll show you what I mean. Let's press start. So you see what's happened? What's wrong with that? And it's not really clear. So, because even if I would want that, I would want spaces in between the numbers at least. So how would we do that in the code? Ryan. Hold on, Ryan's all over this one. Okay, a concatenation statement. So, concatenation. Anybody from this side of the room? These guys are answering everything. So what would I do for concatenation? Double quotes, okay. Space. Okay, plus counter over here. Like that? Oh, it does not like that. Okay, I think I might be missing a character. Okay, or we could do it the other way, which is just go like this. So both ways will work. Okay, it just depends on where the space is. So, and what you've done is you've added the space in between the text and the numbers. Yeah, okay, you're ahead of me. Okay. All right, so let's run this one again because my computer runs fast. So now what we have, now we've got the space. Where Emma was going was also very accurate. She just changed the positioning of it, so she had the extra space between loop and 100. So yes, very effective. It's doable both ways. So what we've done is we've concatenated the statement. Everyone's familiar with concatenation at this stage of the semester? I would assume Scott's probably been all over that, or somebody has. Okay. So we're good, but it's still not good enough because I'm looking at it and I'm going, why do we still have to click the button at the loop? So let's close this off. And where do you think that we would put something to clear the message? Do we put it in the curly braces or brackets? Above? So up here? Outside the button, so up here? I just want to clear it so that when we push, so we still get the message. So it says click here, and once it's clicked, that text goes away and it just displays the numbers. Okay. So inside the button, outside the loop. I'll explain it in just 1 second. Okay, so basically the intent what I want to do, I want that click here to start the loop to go away, and it just shows the numbers. So what we're doing is within this method here of the button click, we want to clear that text, but we still want to display before we click the button. Does that make sense? Everyone following? Yeah, okay. Good. So what would be the code then that we would type in? Anybody? Emma. Okay, empty quotes. Let's give that a try. Like that? Oh, sorry, I missed that part. So just like that then. Yeah. Why is there semicolon? Put it here. Okay, so let's push run again. Walk out with an aha moment in the next 2 years. Promise you. Okay, I'd rather that than peak in the first day. With aha, and then there's nothing left. It's kind of like Austin Matthews scoring 4 goals in his first game. What's left? So, okay, so Okay, so I clicked the hit and click your button. Now the text is gone and all I'm displaying are numbers. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay, perfect. So now, I just want to make sure that I'm going in the right spot. Okay, so here's an A-class challenge for you. What I'm going you to do, and it shouldn't take too long, is display only every other number, only even numbers. So right now, alter the code to display just even numbers. So we want 100, 102, 104, 106, etc. Oh, well, okay. Well, I didn't expect it to go. Okay. Okay. Let everyone else figure it out too.
That's funny though. I'd love to see that.
Okay, so are we done? On the level of talking, next one. Okay, once you see it, you're going to go, really? Is that easy? But here's what happens as new coders, is we tend to overthink challenges. And you're really, I almost guarantee you, you're probably overthinking it. Okay?
No, because my first thing really worked, I was like, oh, that's just funny.
All right, well then let's have a look at it.
Honestly, what I got is like, really counter, like, even numbers. Okay, that is.
Okay, so let's break it down so that we're not overthinking. What are we trying to do?
Like 100.
So we're trying to display just even numbers. So we know that this will return 100, 101, blah, 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 all the way to that point. So what can we do to that code to only display even numbers? Now think about it for a second. So where are even numbers? Every other number. So we go up by twos. So where in here do you think, if we know that's plus 1, okay, so
Just plus 2, not plus.
okay, 1. Because plus equals what? Exactly. So we don't want to go count by 1, 2. It's going to confuse things. So, Nick, we go like that, right? Uh-oh. Why? So we're saying counter plus 2. What is counter plus 2? So we're missing a significant part right here. What do you think that is?
100.
Sort of, because we got there. So what's missing there then? No. We've got to declare the variable again. So we've got to say counter equals. All right, and ready for your first aha moment? Okay, let's try running it. I promise. Did it work, Nick? So what we've established then. All right, so this is what I was trying to show you guys, that sometimes as a challenge, we go, oh, how should I do this? And you write this lengthy code, and all you have to do is change it to counter equals counter plus 2. Now, we've got another solution as well. So that one, which is, now this is going to frustrate you a little bit more. Well, this one's shorter. Okay, so Shannon, I'm going to delete this and tell me what you typed. Counter plus equals 2. Can you walk me through the rationale? But does that make sense? Does it? Okay, so on this side of the room, did you follow what I rolling up? Okay. So that's what we're because you change the name there, and you haven't changed the name in the file. You click the button once you do it. Oh, no, like I changed it didn't even say. Okay, do you want to put it in? Once in a while, go into the phone design, double click the button, and then use that. All of that. And I'll bet you find the first. Yes. Okay, no, those are perfectly simple. In fact, this lady is going to be first. It's perfectly simple. So when Nick says, I'm not listening to that because I already figured that answer out, that's acceptable. It's not the right reason, but it's acceptable. Where if you said, you know what, this is shorter code, I prefer this, perfectly acceptable. See, that's going to be about the word. Now, what's the counter equals counter? It's shorter code plus. Now, what happens if you add code too much code to it? What can happen? You can make a you can type the wrong word, you can spell it incorrectly, and you can spend hours debugging because you spell counter RE instead of ER in that one area. So shorter is better. Okay, perfect. Now, the reason I say perfect, and I go back to this, is it's always good to break your code. It really, truly is. It's frustrating as hell when it's the night before an assignment, but it's good. Because once you do that, you're never going to not forget you're never going to forget the semicolon at the end. Almost guarantee it, but you're going to remember. And I don't mean that as an insult. I almost guarantee it. The night before a big presentation for one of my clients, actually, this is a different one, because I think I've already used this one. One of my biggest clients asked me to create business cards for him. I've been creating business cards since '95, so it's been a long time. I was doing my own crap. We're going to write that. We're going to write for a solution to figure out how we'll do it. Anyhow, so I've created business cards since I was young, and my client said, "Okay, send me 17 names." Now, as a business person, what I do is I turn to my trade printer. And I say, okay, I need these business cards. Give me a quote. So they give me a quote, and I mark it up. And my markup is typically about 30%. which is great. It works out very good, lots of money there. But then what I did was something similar to your missing semicolon. Instead of a business card, standard business card being 2 inches by 3.5, I made it 2 inches by 3 inches. Sent it to the printer printed it, and then they called me after they printed it and said, did you really need to have this size business card? Because it was a brain card. And I went, well, no, absolutely not. Is it too late? Yes, it's too late. So I had to pay out of my own pocket for the entire print run. So, but here's the moral to the story. I guarantee you what's going to happen next is I sat down in front of my computer and I created a template for all the business cards for that client from that point forward that were set exactly like that. So all I have to do now is change the name because I don't want that to happen again. So, but when you miss a semicolon and it's not running, what's the first thing you're going to look for? Missing semicolon. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It is ugly. I missed a decimal place one time. Instead of ordering 2,000 belly bands, I ordered 20,000 belly bands. So yeah, when on a Friday afternoon the skid arrived, and I went, "What do you mean a skid? They sent a skid for 2,000?" Yeah, no. So we had to figure out what to do with that. But again, mistakes happen. So what I did after that was I got my assistant to verify every order I placed, because if you've got this going on, you're planning a trade show, et cetera, things slip through. You've got assignments going on, you've got labs over here. Keith has just dropped another assignment in your lab. Sometimes things break, but the more you break them, the more quicker you are to see where the problem is. And that's one of your aha moments. One time you're going to go, oh, it's broken. Oh, I fixed it. I fixed it in like 5 minutes. And that's going to be one of your ahas. Almost promise. Okay. So we good here? All right. So that took us to the hour. Almost. So I'm going to give you another 10 minutes. Now, because this is a lot of code. And then we'll meet back here at 5 after. 5 after? Oh, I'm so generous. That's a 12-minute break. Yes, sir. What's that? Okay, so this is your assignment? Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so moment of truth. Did you get help? No. So you've done this all yourself? I did it all myself. Then you've come a very long way. That's awesome.
I was using the other example.
And that's exactly what I've been saying, is that you start seeing things.
Nobody in my family.
Well, okay, and I hear you pain. My wife is fortunately very versed in this, but she can't help everything.
Yeah, exactly. So,
yeah. What do you mean a dot text? What the hell is a dot text? Exactly. Okay. Okay. No, do me a favor. I should go up there and add 100, 91, 81, 71, 61, 51. No, you're going to throw me off. Whatever you want there. Actually, 49. Oh. Well, you got the. Oh, no, you don't have the average.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Well, tell me how that's 100.
Oh.
So let's go back to your code. You can set it down if you want. Makes it easier to type. Okay, so let's have a look here and see why it's returning. Oh, I can tell you why. Okay, let's have a look at your calculation, right? You're converting what to string? Yeah, so what are you converting to string there? No,
Class 1.
so whatever you enter in class 1 is going to do what?
It's going to calculate that.
No, it's just going to return whatever you entered in.
Right.
There's no calculation. You're going final cal, but you're bypassing it. And you're not even using it.
Right.
So you've got to change that to string. Actually, you've already done that. Okay, so you don't even need that line.
I can just take it out.
Just delete it. Mhm. Well, let's stop the code running first. Okay. Now there's also that square up there that you can use. Before, now one thing I recommend is until you know for sure, just comment that line of code out. So you're not having to retype it. Now try running it. And go 100, 91, 81, 71, blah, blah, blah. Now you haven't done the if statement yet. Okay. That's fine.
81.
Yeah. 71. 61.
51.
51 and 49. Now, when you're testing your code, use those numbers. And I've done this. Okay, it's still returning 100, so we'll have to have another look. So there's a reason I've used those, because that is an A, B, C, D, F. So when you've got your if statements, that's going to verify everything that you do.
Right.
Okay, so let's close that out and let's have another look at why it's returning that. Okay, do me a favor, okay, okay, let's comment out that code as well.
This one?
Yeah, no, the one below it.
This one?
Yeah.
I think that,
No, because now it's not going to return anything.
right.
So what we want to do is, no, let's uncomment it. That should work. Why is it
Is
not
it possible
working?
that it has to do with my actual?
Well, okay, it shouldn't, because
Why isn't it showing?
properties. Use the arrow down. Click that button right there. Interesting. All right. Anyhow, if you go back to your code, this will find the final count equals all of those divided by 7. So that is correct. Then, now, is that that's your actual label? Label name? Yeah, because otherwise it'll be spitting an error. It's on button click. Interesting. You try running it again. And this time, just put 70 in class 1 and then calculate. And see what it does. Yeah. All right, close that. Or actually, no. Push 0.
In this one?
Yeah. And then put 70 in the next one. That should be 0. Okay, close that. All right, so class 1, for whatever reason, it's just returning whatever that class 1 is. Oh, I know why. We forgot something again. The property after final count. So dot what?
Oh, dot TX.
Yeah, give that a shot. That might work, should work. Being the operative phrase. Nope, didn't like that. Okay. So we converted it to string. Label count dot text equals convert to string final count. Final count equals everything divided by 7. And the txt, there is something so obvious it's staring us in the face. Can you scroll down and see if there's anything else in your method? Nothing else in your method.
I have a feeling that it could be something with this.
Oh, okay, now you got your stuff back now.
Well, no, that's not the.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Label count. Go back to your code. Hey, do me a favor. Upload this to Git.
Okay, yeah, I'm still having trouble with that, so I'm gonna do it after class.
No, that's fine. Upload it to Git and add me as a collaborator. I'd like to play around with your text or your code a little bit. Okay, let's see what's going on. It's returning one. It's returning his first field only. It's not like, and his calculation is all there. Like, he's declared the decimal final count. He's got the math here, 5 by 7. And then label count dot text equals convert to string final count. By rights, that should work.
Yeah, but is he getting values in here?
He's what happens is when he can enter them all into the text boxes, and the only thing it returns is the first text box. And like I say, it's staring us in the face. I just So send that to me. Let me play around with it. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, hold on. Yeah.
Because the 5 by 7 is inside the bracket.
Like, that's what we want.
Oh, so you're adding those and dividing.
Yeah.
Can you help me upload it after class?
Yeah. Okay.
But it looks good so far so good, yeah.
Did we figure it out, Stephen? Did we get it? Oh, I see why. I don't know why exactly. Yeah. You know what? Have a look at your code, your variable declarations. You can copy and paste something. There you go. Oh, no, that's, I didn't see what it was. Yeah, no, so you see what's happening. Okay, so that's why it was returned on because it was adding it 7 times and dividing it by 7. Okay. Exactly. So don't have to get, you don't have to upload it to Git yet. Why is it yellow? Yeah, you're going to stop. You're going to stop running it. But now you missed it. Okay, yeah, so 1, and then, yeah, like I said, just copy and paste. All right. So far so good. Everyone's cooking along today. Sometimes, going back to the errors, and this is, I know that I'm stressing errors, but I think it's significant to talk about them because it's not a bad thing. Actually, Matt was having a problem, and it took two of us to figure out what the problem was, because sometimes you're looking so closely at the code that you don't see it. Now, there's an instructor in the computer studies program, Jared Wright, who told the story, and it became a running joke with me because he worked for a development house where the senior developer had a rubber chicken just sitting on his desk, a rubber chicken. And this junior developer walked up and started asking him all sorts of questions to the point where the senior developer wasn't getting a chance to do his work. So one time the junior developer came up and said, okay, this isn't working. Why? Finally, out of frustration, the senior developer grabbed the rubber chicken and said, ask it. And he walked away, and he was being a smartass. So he went, so why is this code not working? As he's walking away being the smartass, it occurred to him. And he figured out why it wasn't working. So the running joke is whatever I've got in my hand or whomever I'm talking to becomes my rubber chicken. So in this case, Stephen was the rubber chicken, but sometimes it helps to talk through, even though if you're talking to your parents and they don't understand, it's okay, because what you're doing is you're articulating what the problem is. And when you articulate it, then you look at it and you go, okay, so nothing is adding. Why isn't it adding? And then you start going, oh, wait a minute. Then you're forcing your brain to look at the line that's got the addition. Okay, that works, but why? And slowly you start backtracking. So sometimes it works to talk to people as well. And that's perfectly acceptable as long as you're not using their code. Okay. So all that said, so we figured out how to do this. So now is it Mohammed? Okay, no, because I was talking to a student one time and I was calling him Mohammed. He goes, that's my last name. So no, it's Mohammed. Okay, so here's what Mohammed's been waiting for. Now we're going to add a while loop. So we're going to go to the form design and we're going to add another button. Let's just drop it right in there, and we're going to call it while loop. BTN, I'm going to call mine BTN while loop. Okay. Now let's double click it to get to the code again. Now what we've done is we've created the button method. Now, if you're coming to a problem in your code where when you click the button, it's not functioning, what would be the first spot you look? Is in the button method. Because chances are what's happened is you've double clicked on another element of your form and you've written the code in there. So your button click method is empty. So when you click it, it's not doing anything. So look, that's the first thing you should look for. So that was just an aside. So, okay, so we've got that done. Now what I want to do is, and this is a bad thing for those of you playing along at home, but I'm going to just copy this and paste it. Now, the reason I say copying and pasting is bad is it's frustrating at times because there's a lot of code. But if you've got an error in what you're copying, it's going to go rampant through your code. So try not to copy it, but yeah. Okay. You could, sure. But now here's the problem, though. Sometimes you don't select everything. And then, like, say, for example, the LBL message dot text equals and a blank, like an empty string. But I didn't highlight the semicolon. I just pasted it in, and I didn't see that I didn't copy that in. So there are opportunities where even a tested code would not work. But yes, absolutely. And I'm not going to tell you not to do it because that's the first inclination. But as another student's already demonstrated, when you copy it, sometimes it creates more problems than it solves. So anyhow, okay, so we've got this. So we've added that, okay. So now what we want to do is we want to create a while loop, to display numbers from 100 to 120. And we're going to, now this is where it gets a little bit more text involved as well, because a while loop is a manual performance of something, where the for loop, which is kind of what Emma was saying, and where you've got a distinct set of numbers and everything else. A while loop is a manual transaction, where the for loop is an automatic transaction. So now what we've got to do is we've got to declare the counter. So set the number to 100. Counter to 100. And this is where we go. So we, again, because it's a whole number, we can do an int, 32, and we're going to go counter equals 100. All right, so far so good. And now we're going to go, then we're doing the while. So we're doing while. Counter is less than 120, or less than or equal to 120. Okay, so what I've done here is I've created the while loop. I've set it to perform a loop text. Then what I've done is I've declared counter variable is an int, and it starts at 100. And then I said, now while counter is less than or equal to 120. Now it's parsing out because what am I missing in the code? Curly braces. Is that what you said too? No. So you could say, yeah, that's what I said. Okay, so let's add the curly braces. So now what we've done is we've said, okay, so and this is where it gets a little easier. And all we've got to do is, hold on. Yes, okay. Yep, okay. So we go label message dot text. Sorry, I was thinking that I should have added another label, but we're okay. So label message dot text plus or equal, which means that we're adding the new count to it rather than just replacing it. Counter plus. Okay, so do you remember why we did that? What that did? Emma? Put the space in. I asked you just because that was your code. Okay. Okay, so then what we want to do is we want to add one. And then we go counter plus plus. So now technically, when we run this, so now we've got the two options. We've got the click here and the while loop. Let's click the while loop. So it performed the same function, but if we click the click here button, it's truncated it to the, now why is it showing two different ones? Why is it showing only every other one? Yeah. Exactly. So got the one code for the click button set to only display every other number on even numbers. And for the while loop, we've got it set up to display every number. So if in an exam you were asked to display every other number odd numbers, so now we want to display every other number as odd numbers in a while loop. How would we do that? Okay, so started at 101. Okay, that's a good start. So plus or equal to 2, like that. Whoop, that's 1. That's 2, just like that. Let's run it and see. So now there's the odd numbers and there's the even numbers. It's just that simple. Okay, just give me 1 sec. Okay, so Nick, that's the while loop. Okay. So we got one more thing to work on today. And then it's going to be, then we're going to hopefully finish a couple minutes early at least. All right, so now what we want to do. All right, so now what we're going to do is add 2 numbers. So go back to the form. I know we've done this all semester. We're going to add 2 text boxes. Did we figure it out? What was it? Okay. So it's the close brace. Did it shut it down? Okay. Okay, so we got the 2 text boxes, and then we're going to add another button. So let's go text box. Okay, so in today's internet vernacular, what could go wrong if you copy and paste button?
Automatically.
Okay, true. But now, if you copy at this point, this button here, what's it going forward? Does it pull the method or anything else? Does it pull the method? I think it does. I've not copied buttons, but I'm pretty.
Like, if you want to double click, I need it. That secondary button or something.
Oh, the task, I copy it. That's fine, but frankly, to click Control C, V, Control V, It's just as easy just to drag a new button. So anyhow, okay. So we're going to call the first text box, I'm going to call it TXT. And I'm going to break my own rule a little bit, call it X number. And the second one, for those of you playing along at home, will probably be TXT Y number. And actually, we're going to need a label as well for the outcome. So let's add another label there. Okay, so then we're going to call the button. Let's call it, I'm calling it add. So the name itself will be BTN add. And the text will be add. And then I'm going to call this one, I'm going to clear the text and name it LBL output. Okay, is everyone there? Good, 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 good. Let's double click the add button. Now this is where I'm going to break our tradition, where typically when you press the add button, include all of the methodology in the traces or brackets or whatever we're calling them, they're curly. But we're not going to do that. We're going to write a separate method. Why do we want to write a separate method, do you think? What's the benefit of writing a separate method? Yeah, so we can, absolutely. So if you wanted to call the method, and in this situation, can you think of a scenario that you'd want to call it more than once? In a loop, or if you're doing a calculator. So there's all sorts of different things. So we're going to create its own method. So underneath that, the closing curly brace, we're going to start it out by going private 32, add numbers. X. Now, you'll notice that add numbers is probably highlighted saying that it's an error. If you rolled over the error, it'll tell you that that it's not there right now. There's no code associated, so that will go away as we're entering in code. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to put a comment in there that says add the two input parameters together. Okay. And then we're going to type in int to sum equals x plus y. And then what is it that we're going to want to do? And I've seen this on some of your codes, so some of you know what the next step is. Anybody? What would be the next thing that we want to do with this method? Shannon. Okay, and what's that called? No, not right there. So because that would be part of the addition method. That would be what we displayed the label in the actual button click. I'll show you how to do that in a second. But there's one more thing, Stephen. You need to return the sum. Okay. So basically, what we're doing is we're sending the sum to the button click method. Return the sum, and we do that by just typing in return. And this is where it gets really, really difficult. sum. Not every day that your comments are longer than your code, but okay. So then now we go back up to the button click method, and we want to, first thing we want to do is capture the X and Y axis as variables. And then we want to, the next thing we'll want to do is send X and Y to the add numbers method and display results. Okay, so those are two things that we're going to want to perform on the button click. So in the capturing the X and the Y, what do we do? Do you remember what we did with the when we were capturing any input in a text box? I kind of gave it to you, like we've been doing it all semester. It's nothing new at this point. Shannon? Yeah? Okay. Sort of. Okay, we've got to declare the variable first. So we're going int 32, and this is where we're declaring the X equals, and this is where we do what you were suggesting, which is convert to int 32, and then in there we would do the txt X number dot text. Okay, does that make sense? And then we do the semicolon, and then we do the identical thing for the next number equals convert to int 32 number. We want the Y. Okay, so far so good. Everyone's following along. Yeah. Oh, thank you. That was a test, actually, Shannon. You passed. See, there you go. So that's debugging. So that would, because I would have looked at it and went, why is it barking at me? So perfect. It does. The method does work. So now we want to send the X and the Y to the add numbers. So all we've got to do then is we go int 32, and we're going to call this result. Okay, and that equals add numbers or add number X, Y. And if I could spell, I'd be dangerous. Oh, it's add numbers. And then we're going to do, this is where we're going to do the label output equals dot text equals convert to string result. Okay, so a lot of text here. What we've done is okay. So variables from txt X number and txt Y number as the variables of X and Y. We declare the int result equals add numbers X plus or X and Y, and in the secondary method here we take X plus Y and create a sum. And then what we're doing is we'll return the sum. Now, what have we done in this line right here? What is that called? So For those of you following along on this side, right up here, what is this? Function call? No? No, in a declared variable, okay, yes, we have declared variable, so you are right. But what we've done is we declared the variable by calling the method. Okay? Got that? I'm posting this to GitHub too. But that's okay. As well as Ignited. Oh, lovely. Okay. I'm also recording too, so you can take yours and mine and do a greatest hits. Okay. All right, so does that make sense? Yes, let's play it. Or start it. Or run it. Okay, let me have a look at it in just 1 second. So I'm going to do 2 and 2, and it's 4. Now, here's something, don't forget as well. When I click it, I'm still referring the others because it's all part of the same method. So we're associating multiple methods now to the form. Okay, let me see that. Where's the bird? Okay, let me have a look at it. Almost done. Okay, so are there any other questions? Okay, so can you see where you can utilize this now for the lab? Start to piece that together now? Yes? So you can do a while loop. So while the variable password does not equal password, return this. Otherwise, return that. To make sure that's uploaded. I think I told you we'd be finished a couple minutes early, so. Sorry? I would suggest uploading it. You don't have to include me as a collaborator in this one, just for the practice. Shannon. You go into, I think it's settings and then collaborator, and then you just type in the college prof, and that'll be me. And then you just select me and send the request or the invitation. No, it just does it automatically. But then once, like for this lab, then you've got to copy the actual URL for the repo and paste that into the lab. And so then I can just click in there. Once what happens is you send me the invitation, I accept. Perfect. So then you send me the link, I can go to that link and I'll be able to find it because it says, yes, you're logged in, you are who you are, and you're part of the collaboration team. Yeah, the college prof. Yeah. Yeah. I think I may have done a invite collaborator. If I don't actually know I didn't do that. I'll add that into the document. So there is a GitHub instructions. Okay, actually that's something that this side of the class I don't think had an opportunity to, yeah, this was the second half. So I've added instructions on GitHub to Blackboard. I think it's under resources. It's a step-by-step. So what I'm going to do is, and I've also added repos, because what's going to happen is over the next 2 semesters, you guys are going to be hammered with adding repos, and it's going to get to the point where if you're not labeling them correctly now, you're not going to know what they are. So you're probably going to be deleting some. So I've given you instructions on how to delete them as well. So I will now add instructions on how to add a collaborator as well. Okay, any other questions? Okay, so that concludes this portion of the class. Thank you very much for attending. The exits are there, and that's about it. So thank you very much. We'll see you next week. Next week, we're going to be talking about the drop-down menus and whatnot. Okay. Tomorrow evening is probably going to be the best way. So I'll put out an announcement about when what classroom, and then just bring questions for it. All right.
This is a general thing. I just need to sort of.
Yeah, that's fine.
Also,
Okay, actually, Nick, do you want to bring your computer up and I can go through both of them at the same time? because you're both kind of in the same situation. So let's have a look. Is it a general question? Okay, you had a question about it? Yes. So what you've got to do, okay, upload it. So you uploaded it to GitHub or Blackboard? So you probably only included the SLN, or you excluded the SLN. Okay. Do you know how to do GitHub now? Okay, so upload the entire assignment to GitHub and then include me as a collaborator and I'll mark it then. Is that fair? Okay. Hi. A proposition.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But continue my education here.
Right.
At the middle of the semester.
Yeah.
So, I'm planning to
I will never discourage attending classes. So what I'm going to suggest is I'm going to do everything in my power to post things to YouTube. And if you can't make a class, certainly watch it online. But you'll have to be present for exams. You have to be physically present for that.
Yeah.
So just on December 10th. But if you can't make a class, just check in online and you can sit in on it that way.
So if the exams are on Blackboard,
you'd have to be physically present because I have to proctor it. Okay?
So
I can't tell you to skip the class. I would never tell you to skip the class. I'll tell you if you can't make the class, that they are available online.
Because the reason is that if, for example, I used to
Yeah.
So I have to look for a job on the
Read between the lines. I can't tell you to not come to class. I will not tell you. But if you miss a class, they are available on YouTube. So if you miss one class and you have to do it that way, that's fine. But I will never tell you not to come to class. Do you follow?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Nick. Let's bring your computer over here too. Good. Shannon, we'll be with you in one moment, Nick. Yeah, I've not been very good with them, and I know. The problem is that I've been having a problem with YouTube where it's basically 3 hours of key just standing there because it switched the screen share. So what I'm going to have to do is kind of re-record them, and that's where the huge time thing is. But this week's worked perfectly. I verified that. So this week's will be up there. All right? Yeah. Yep. Okay, Nick. Now I promise you, if you want to lift that heavy computer over there because it's a Windows. All right, so let's have a look here. Why is it not liking it? Okay. So let's look at my code. Let's start at the add click button, add click. So int x converts to int 32. I got to get used to the fact that I've got touch screen. Text x, text y, int 32y. So that's not barking. Then okay, this part's barking at you for what reason? What do you think? Because you're missing some information on that line. It's a common mistake in programming that you're missing something. No, at the very end, you're missing the semicolon. Then you're missing, so press enter. That should, okay. So now, add numbers. Roll over it and see what it says. Yes. Okay, I was just explaining to Shannon that I had a problem with some of my videos where it flipped over from PowerPoint, so you lost what I was doing. So I've got to re-record those. But today's class is definitely on. Okay. The lab. Okay, I'll make sure it goes up. Thank you. Actually, let me do that. Next class. Okay. So while that's doing that, it's not liking it. It's 32. No, it's fine like that. Okay. Oh, I see why. Do you really need to declare the in 32s? I declared them up here. Look at my code. So it's not liking it for there. Okay, so that's good. So we got rid of that error. Now the add numbers.
Is it possible that it's the same problem here?
No, hold on. Int. Okay, you're missing another line. The int 32 result. Okay, add numbers. Okay, that's right. So then you've got to add the label output.text. No, up here. Yeah. While you're typing that, Ryan, did you have a general question? Or are you just helping out Emma? Same question? Perfect. Oh, I'll be with you in just a second. I thought it was just in general.
I don't have an LBL labeled text.
Maybe you changed, you called it something different. What? Okay. Did you even add the label in there? There it is. Okay. So what do we call it? Label add. Okay. Yeah. Dot text equals. And then we want to convert to string. Okay, so then what comes next?
No, I'm talking about like.
Oh, okay. In parentheses, what are we converting to string?
The X and the Y.
So the result of the sum. So type in result. Okay, and then semicolon. That closes that line off. So now let's scroll up here and let's have a look at your add numbers and see why it's not liking it. Sum equals numbers. No. Int 32 add numbers. No, what's the underline up there first? Let's kill off the parentheses. Okay, so what's it saying? Must declare a body. It's not marked abstract. Okay, hold on. Stop for a second. Okay. Go up to this line, and what do you see that shouldn't be there in a method declaration? The semicolon. Now it's going to break everything else. So return. And what do we have to enclose all methods in? Exactly. So do the left. Okay, so now we're going to have to delete. Okay, now copy that, or cut it at least, and then paste it in there. So now it's going to start liking you a little bit more, even though it's still not. And then next line, just type in return sum, semicolon. Yeah. No, return sum. Okay. Semicolon. And there you go. That should work.
So what should I be seeing now?
So when you add the two numbers, whatever the math is, that label will change the math. Okay.
So wait, if I type in
1 and 2, it should come up as 3. There it is. Okay. Ryan.
So we're wondering a little bit redundant to use because we're trying to figure out how to work for the password. Okay, yeah, and it's really working out, but I'm trying to get you guys to work with
yes, it would be redundant, it is redundant, but if you can incorporate it as a while loop, it's just a kind of clear the lines that you want, that's all. Yes, absolutely, you can get the same result, and probably a lot more, because you have experience in that. But the only reason is I just thought you
Infinite.
A while ago, this is just, I just put this those. I think fly number.
So, what I would think the password is not the password. Should that not be the chart manipulation, the wow, so and it's not, oh.
This? Well, like that's a password.
Oh, I see, yeah, okay, so you're calling.
I tried it both ways, and I swear.
But the weird thing is, it doesn't even get to. It's called, yeah.
Like, it's not doing this, let me have a look at it and see if there's worst case scenario. This should work, it's just, I have about 4 different things that I'm thinking, I can't really figure it out immediately. It should. String controls. Like if you submitted this, I'm not going to do it because in theory everything is correct. Yeah, logically it makes sense. I just want to see why it's not. So if you can send that to me through GitHub, then
Do you want me to email you the link or just I cannot.
Oh no, it's optional.
Yeah, I understand. For some reason I can't come in and have.
Please.
Yeah.
And just send me using your that one because you guys are should be. So far, it's so like if you do come across challenges.
Yes, you are. Okay, so are we trying to do this?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. We'll work together.
If not, I'll submit this. Yes.
And like I say, for me, that's, it should work.
Yeah.
But I'll have a look and see if there's, it might be just.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, no problem. And that was it for you too? Yeah. Okay, perfect. Nick, did you figure out yours? Yeah. Semicolon, wasn't it? I hate semicolons. Honey, I've said the same thing before. Where it says written is 5:32 hours, and you had a semicolon, which would have thrown off everything you meant. But you know what's going to happen now next time? I'm going to put a semicolon there. That'll be the first spot in the book. Oh, first good. We're going to check the here first, and then we'll.
Here goes, yes.
Okay, at the start of the semester, if I send you the new program and troubleshooting, that would be a basic application for week 10. No, you're not wrong.
I don't stop.
It's all social.
The assignment for the loop with the master class, the one is 2 to 7.
No, that's your lab. That's one Monday. That's one Monday. The assignment is posted online.
Oh, yeah, assignment is on December 3rd.
That'd be a really generous delivery.
I was gonna say, it's like, that's the least.
Because that's only about 7 lines of code that I've asked you for in that one.
Yeah. And all the use case of is that code thing.
Exactly.
How long do you think until one day, you're gonna be able to get, a program that's as good as anything in code, code, or, I want you to do this, maybe every day.
I hope the day never comes.
Really?
Yeah, because I've already seen it in one of my industries with the graphic design. When Microsoft released, I think it's called Page Designer, and everyone became graphic designer. So if you can program using just pseudocode,
then you're wasting 2 years of your life sitting. The problem with design is actually what grammar does. Because okay, that's how it stands if you're using something you're not supposed to use, it doesn't tell you what you're not supposed to use.
Okay, well, now here's something interesting.
It's kind of like going on, you say you can, I say, bring this up. It's like saying you can design someone a webpage and then you go on GoDaddy.com. You know what I mean? You're taking away from the professional.
Okay, so hello world, right?
Now, you basic websites. You know how short the code is for hello world. All we want is a website that says hello world. So now let me show you something.
So we're going to save this as HTML. Save as on my desktop HTML, because as we know, you can actually create web pages through Word. Okay, so theoretically that would work perfectly, right? So let's run this one. Open. Does it work? Google Chrome. It works, right? Now here's the fun part. Inspect. Now remember how many lines of code it took you to do that in HTML? This is for just hello world. So as you can see, yes, it might be a time where you need to focus theoretically what Microsoft Word. Everything else. Now, here's the next. Pretend that you're graduating and Nick had his wife grow. Well, you could. So, could pseudo code theoretically work going forward? Yes, it could. Could I see a time when it's going to? I hope not. Yeah.